On a slightly the same thing, but slightly different tack, on UNRWA. I asked you a question yesterday about the rockets that they had found in the school, and if you knew what they did with them after they had found them. Now, apparently, there have been some more found today. Do you have an answer to the question?
I wasn't aware of those found today, but I got a little more information about what you asked me about yesterday. A few points on this. Obviously, UNRWA is a humanitarian organization operating in a very difficult operating environment. That's particularly acute in Gaza, obviously, where there's an active and ongoing conflict. In terms of what happened to them, UNRWA has told us that they asked the local police to remove the rockets from the school. We recognize that this was not an acceptable outcome, and we are consulting closely with UN leadership, with UNRWA, the Israeli government, and the Palestinian Authority to develop better options available in the event of future incidents. Again, it's important to remember that UNRWA is a humanitarian relief organization. It's not a peacekeeping mission equipped to deal with a kind of situation where you find rockets. That's not their mandate. We also urge UNRWA to continue to be as transparent as possible about this issue. They will have more details on it, but that's what I know as of right now.
Is it your understanding that by local police, that was Hamas?
I think they can better speak to who specifically in the local police. I don't have more information than that.
But if you say it was if the outcome was not acceptable, it would appear that UNRWA gave these missiles back to their owners.
They have told us they went to the local police. I will leave it to UNRWA to provide more details about who that was. I just don't have those details, Matt. I just don't have them.
So after this happened, the secretary and people with the secretary in Cairo announced an additional tranche, a big package of aid, including $15 million to UNRWA.
Which is an organization that does very important work in terms of the humanitarian situation, not just in Gaza, but elsewhere.
I understand, but can you see how to an outside observer, this sounds a bit bizarre?
Well, maybe to an outside observer who doesn't have all the facts or understand the details here, but I think I just laid out for you that we don't believe this is an acceptable outcome, that UNRWA is operating in a very difficult situation, and there weren't a lot of good options here, and we are working with them to try and figure out a better outcome in the future.
Right, but the facts are pretty clear. UNRWA discovers rockets in its school. It condemns it, informs the UN, obviously, and then hands them back over to the people who are shooting them into Israel.
Well, let's not make sweeping generalizations. They've told us they gave them to the local police.
Well, but the local police in Gaza are Hamas.
Okay, well, Matt, I'm sure UNRWA can provide more details about who specifically they gave them back to, but I would just be careful about making sweeping generalizations, and I check with them about who specifically they were given back.
Okay, well, if you say it was unacceptable, I'm assuming that it was unacceptable. But anyway, you ended up still giving
I do tend to mean what I say, yes.
Exactly. You say it's unacceptable, but you won't say why it's unacceptable, right?
I don't have more for you than that.
Okay. So, but then you go ahead and announce another $15 million to this very organization,
because it's an important organization.
I understand.
Those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
So maybe the question is this: what would have been an acceptable outcome in this situation?
Well, I'm not going to outline specifically what that might have looked like. We're looking at what acceptable outcomes might look like in the future. I don't have details.
A lot of Israelis have been skeptical, critical of UNRWA in the past. I mean, this kind of a situation does not underscore those kinds of concerns?
Well, look, again, to underscore here, UNRWA is operating in a very difficult situation, in a difficult environment, and they aren't, to be frank here, equipped to deal with discovering rockets in a school where they were working humanitarianly. So, again, this wasn't a good outcome. We certainly don't think it was, but I would caution people from jumping to conclusions about, what UNRWA was trying to do here. We're working with them to try to do better in the future.
So you don't believe that this amounts to aiding and abetting of?
I would certainly not say that.
On this clarification, there was another UNRWA school today that has been hit that was sheltering displaced Palestinians, that has been hit. I'm not sure what the death toll or the casualty toll is yet from that. Do you believe that possibly by the discovery of these rockets, UNRWA schools have now become a target, or UNRWA facilities have now become a target for the Israeli forces? I was just at a meeting with the Israeli ambassador in which he said that under the rules of war, if rockets are hidden in schools, hospitals, medical facilities or homes, they become legitimate targets. Has UNRWA now become a legitimate target in this conflict?
No, I would say UNRWA is not a legitimate target, but let's step back for a second. I haven't seen those reports from today. We do know that Hamas has used schools, hospitals, other civilian buildings to hide fighters, to hide rockets, to hide the tools that they're using to attack Israel with. So I'll say that point A. Point B, I'm not going to make a sort of international legal judgment based on comments I didn't see by the Israeli ambassador to the U.S. We have said that Israel has a right to defend itself. We've also said that they need to take every effort to protect civilian casualties of Palestinians. So those two things are also true at the same time. I can look into the report about this morning. I just haven't seen it.
So, I mean, do you believe that that if Hamas is hiding these rockets in schools and wherever, those then are legitimate targets by the Israelis as they press that campaign?
I don't want to say that. I don't want to make that generalization. What I've said generally is that Israel has a right to defend itself, and these rockets are terrorizing the people of Israel. But schools, hospitals, there are places where civilians, particularly